Somerset House, as it stands today, was built in 1776 by Sir William Chambers, one of the leading architects of the Georgian era. Nowadays, Somerset House is a home for cultural innovators. Here, you can find diverse creative opportunities, exhibit your work, and use the iconic courtyard for events. The house is a host for British summertime from June to August and has installed ice skating rinks in the winter. Although Somerset House is a fun public space now, it has one of the longest histories of all the London palaces. It survived 1666 Great Fire of London and the World War II, although the south wing was a bit damaged. The mansion was first built in 1547 for Edward Seymour, the Duke of Somerset at the time. He headed a dissolution of monasteries and seized the real estate from St. Paul's Cathedral for his residential palace on the Thames. Before the house was finished, he was overthrown for treason and beheaded, and the royal family took over the house. Queen Elizabeth I briefly lived here before her coronation. Later, the house was passed down to Anne of Denmark in 1603. She renamed it to Denmark House and had a Denmark-trained architect, Inigo Jones, to redesign and rebuild part of the palace. He added orangeries, theatres, and a famous three-folded courtyard. The last royal member, Catherine of Burgundy, left Denmark House in 1693. In the 1700s, Denmark House was used as a grace and favour apartment. Grace and favour apartment means it's owned by the monarch but leased to people rent-free. Other grace and favour apartments include 10 Downing Street. During this time, the Italian painter Canaletto painted the two views from the riverside terrace. By 1775, after decades of neglect, Denmark House, or the original Somerset House, was demolished. The architect, William Chambers, started working on this replacement. Chambers was also the architect of the Great Pagoda at Kew Gardens. He knew at the time that this would be his most significant work. As it was a complicated and lengthy build, he travelled extensively to study architecture before starting work on the new Somerset House. One design element worth noting here is the entrance from the Strand. The scale was inspired by Sangallo's Palazzo Farnese in Rome, and the double column was inspired by the west wing of the Louvre. The new Somerset House was about to be the first office complex in London. The Royal Academy of Arts became its first tenant in the North Wing in 1779. The Embankment Building, known today as the South Wing, was completed in 1789 and was shared by the Navy Board, as well as a museum in the centre. The East and West Wings were completed 2 years later in 1788, and by 1789 the Navy Board completed its move to Somerset House and eventually occupied 1/3 of the site, the Stamp Office, responsible for taxes, newspapers, and other documents, joined the board in the South Wing. By 1836, the General Register Office, responsible for births, deaths, and marriages, was also established.
Now what becomes of that record of the child's birth? It goes, together with records of deaths and marriages, to Somerset House, London, which celebrates its centenary this year as the General Register Office. You may find you need a copy of the certificate, so you fill up a form that authorizes you to search the records.
The new wing, which previously was used as a housing unit, was expanded by 1856 by architect James Pennethore, and it was also used by the combination of the Navy Board and the Stamp Office, now called the Inland Revenue. In this entire time, the embankment project hadn't yet begun, and the house sat directly along the Thames River, meaning you can access the South Wing by boat, hence why the river terrace was called the River Terrace. Here is another image from the River Terrace in 1850, when the river was at low tide. From both of the paintings, you can see the busy river, the Blackfriars Bridge, and St. Paul's Cathedral. The embankment project was completed by 1870, and from these images you can see that the River Terrace is no longer directly next to the River Thames, and people can access the embankment building from the south side of the house. In the latter half of the 1900s, different government offices started to move out of Somerset House. By the end of the 90s, Somerset House Trust was established to turn the architecture for public use, and they installed the first temporary ice rink in the winter of 2000. Ever since then, it has been used as a backdrop of a plethora of public events, such as fashion shows and concerts. Architecture is the context of our lives. We eat, sleep, work, learn, and interact with each other inside of them. Somerset House has been adapting to the lives of its inhabitants for more than 400 years. It always brings a sense of reverence for Londoners, knowing how much history it has witnessed. You can see the architecture in movies and read about it in novels. It has really become a culture icon of our time. Spring's architecture blends the historic grandeur of Somerset House with elegant nature-inspired design elements, including floral art, organic materials, and a focus on light and warmth. Key features include the private dining room, with walls clad in marble-cast leaves, bespoke art installations like Valeria Nascimento's porcelain petals, and a sophisticated color palette of whites, grays, and natural wood. The overall design creates a serene and elegant atmosphere that contrasts with and complements the building's Grade 1 listed status.